afternoon. This is the prayer room in St Vincent's Hospital, and back in 2024 I was interviewed by panel for a job in this hospital as an orderly, or whatever the appropriate job title was. I was not successful due to my inability to do night shifts on psychiatric grounds because of my bipolar disorder. So I didn't get the job. However, it was encouraging to realise that a guy from Alice Springs, Northern Territory, was taken seriously as an applicant in a big city hospital such as St Vincent's Hospital here, right near King's Cross. But in the lead up to my departure from Alice Springs to Sydney, I spent 10 years working in the Alice Springs Hospital as a patient support assistant. And for the first 6 months, I was based in the general wards of the Alice Springs Hospital. This was back in 2013. And then 6 months later, I was transferred to the emergency department of the Alice Springs Hospital. And this changed my life forever, even in a role where I wasn't a nurse or a doctor. Working in such a small population base, there are all kinds of ethical dilemmas that you face. Be it what to do with a patient medically, or how to deal with a colleague ethically, or how to deal with members of the general public ethically. In the Alice Springs Hospital, we dealt with paramedics, we dealt with police, we dealt with fireys, and we dealt with prison officers and prisoners. We also dealt with people that were under arrest. So in the emergency department of the Alice Springs Hospital, we were at the crossroads of very juicy information, but we had to keep our mouths shut because it's the law. I wish to speak about duty ethics, the Immanuel Kant approach. Now, I must admit that before reading about Immanuel Kant, all I was thinking about was the Monty Python's Bruce's Philosophy song, where the first line of the song is Immanuel Kant was a real pissant who was very rarely stable. That was the first line of the Bruce's Philosopher song by Monty Python. Immanuel Kant appealed to me, I think, due to my Asperger's syndrome, because of my default to think in black and white terms: right, wrong, yes, no, is it good, is it bad? The thing is, working in a hospital, everybody has a duty, especially in a small town. It is our duty in the Alice Springs Hospital to do what is best for the community. And you've got to remember that the Alice Springs Hospital was a service hospital for a 1,000 kilometre radius. We were dealing with people from South Australia, Western Australia, Queensland, and Tennant Creek. So it was a small hospital, but it was a strategic hospital and it was a lifeline. I'm choosing to talk about ethics in hospitals as a way of freeing myself because I got burnt out. And I'm hoping that by talking about this, that it'll emotionally free me and that any resentments that I still have eventually leave me. Because resentments can kill you. The thing about duty in a hospital everybody deep down knows what they should or should not do. But subjective emotions, as with all human beings, they come into play. And you get let down. I don't want to inflate myself or inflate my ego. I was good at my job, which meant that I became the only person in the role that I was in that got asked to do his job. And it was stressful. I couldn't be everywhere at once. Everybody was trying to get a piece of me all at the same time. The correct response, if we talk business and duty, is that in a hospital, if there is somebody not doing the right thing, i.e. not doing their duty, not doing their work, then the appropriate response is you have to put in a formal complaint so that it can be verified that this person isn't doing their job. And unfortunately, that wasn't happening. Now, I want to make it very clear that there were people in the Alice Springs Hospital that did treat me with respect, but there wasn't enough of them. So, particularly in the public service, if somebody isn't doing their job, the only way that you can actually deal with it is if you have formal documentation where you put in a complaint. And the reason that wasn't happening is that people knew that in order for them to put in a formal complaint, it was going to inconvenience them. They would not get out the door on time like they'd hoped. And so problems were shoved under the rug. And in order for me to not get completely walked over, arguing was a constant thing that took place, because otherwise it was going to become dangerous. A lot of people say that they care, but when it comes to proving it, it's obvious that they don't. They're protecting their own self-interest while making it look like they're caring for the greater common good. And that really hurts. So I learnt the hard way. By the time I got to my long service leave in January 2024. I was 93, 94 kilos, and I'm under 90 now. I feel a lot better. Absolutely burnt out, exhausted, in tears, because I did the right thing. I tried my very best to do the right thing all the time. And I ended up just being treated like absolute dirt in return. So, what I've learnt and how I'm going to deal with this in my future employment, either in full-time Christian ministry or in any other organisation, is that if I know that people in an organisation that I'm working in are not doing their duty, are not making sure that everybody does their fair load of the work, or even just is not treating everybody fairly and with dignity and respect, that I just have to walk away. Because if somebody's not willing to give you respect straight off the cuff, the likelihood that they're going to start treating you with respect is small, or in some cases impossible. In the Alcoholics Anonymous meetings, we pray the serenity prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I can't change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And that usually concludes the meeting. I can't change people's attitude, but I can change what I do. But if I ever find myself in a position of seniority in the workplace, and I see bad things happening, I will call it out, even if it results in enemies, even if I actually get the sack in the process. The good Lord He give, and the good Lord He take away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. If I lose a job because I did my duty, well then God will provide another one. I know what it's like to be a hostage of passivity, of people not calling something for what it really is. And due to that experience, I've told myself that should I ever find myself in a position where I see that happening, that unlike what happened to me, I will speak up for clear conscience, because I don't want people to have my experience. But I guess the most important thing is you've got to forgive the people that hurt you. They were sick and they didn't know that they were sick. Because when you forgive them, you free yourself.